What's going on, Divine, Texas? Welcome to Talking Throws Podcast, Texas style. I'm Coach Jason.
And I'm Coach Janelle.
And we are throws coaches with the track club, the Thorn Factory. You can go to thethornfactory.com and check out our bios. Also on that website, you will find information on our lessons, where they're doing online or in person. If we're not the location that you need, we have a new coach, Coach Kinter, in the greater Wichita Falls area. He can possibly help you out. His information's on the site. Coach Jarvis, East at the Thorn Factory. He's kind of covering East Texas, Mesquite, or even doing online stuff. His information is on the site as well. And then out in West Texas, Mr. Morgan Knight, Night Power and Performance. So we can handle anything in person, online, video assessments, whatever you need. If you're looking to join the club for summer training, we will welcome that as well. Just go maybe shop on our apparel page. Also, then you'll find links for Four Throws and for the podcast as well. We want to thank our sponsors for Season 7, Episode 115, Texas Track and Field Coaches Association. That website is ttfca.org for everything track and field, whether it's indoor season, outdoor season, high school season, outdoors just started. So if you're looking for some track meets, or if you have a rain delay on a Thursday and you will try to get your meets in for Friday or Saturday, that's a great website to go to get contact information. That site is ttfca.org. Fourthrows.com, quality implements price right. Use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. Right now on the site, you can get anywhere from sell items for hammer, for javelin, for hammer gloves, for swivels, anything you need. They also sell Fiber Sports Discus on there as well. Just use that code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. Ready Up Athletic Development. If you're in the greater Austin area and you're needing someplace or someone to design a workout program for you or to go work out, contact Zach Phillips. His cell is 512-507-8347. You can follow him on Instagram or Facebook. But he's also very good at developing programs, especially programs for throwers. Maybe you have a homeschool athlete who has no understanding of how to train in the weight room for being a good thrower. He's put together a program called Basic Throw Strength. It's on a website called Train Heroic. If you use the code THROWS10, you'll get 20% off. The program's called Basic Throw Strength. The site is Train Heroic. Use the code THROWS10. Fiber Sports Discus, a new way to get the distance. There you go. Low spin twister 2. You can go to fibersportsdiscus.com or go to fourthrows.com to get the latest and best of Fiber Sports Discus. We appreciate Mr. Bruce Caldwell for his support and loyalty over the years. Also, a new sponsor for us is NTX Timing. Let Carl Hornbeck and his crew, Carl Hornbeck and his crew manage the meet data from start to finish. Take advantage of their seedings, report generation, timing, live results, feedback on the internet, and everything's posted much up. And the purpose is for NTX Timing or any timing system is to get the information out there and get those results, whether it's a 100-meter time or a good shot put or good discus throw. We need those marks to be posted. And so a lot of meets are starting to use timing systems, but in our opinion, NTX Timing is the best, and that's led by Mr. Carl Hornbeck. We want to thank Big Frogs for helping us out, lifting DFW, and then remind everybody to check out our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up and subscribe to that. But also, when you're listening to podcasts on Apple or Spotify, give us a thumbs up rating if you choose. Write a comment if you don't like it. Feel free to do that, and then remind everybody too about lifting DFW. Today's guest on episode 115, season 7, is currently living in Divine, Texas, with his wife Sandy. He is 77 years old. He is the current president of the Texas Throwers Club. He was awarded the Ken Weinbel Award from the United States Track and Field in 2021. He has a PR in hammer of 44.19. He has a discus PR of 38.84. And a fun fact is, in 2010, he biked from Mexico to Canada, which took him 25 days, with his wife Sandy following behind. Please welcome to episode 115 of season 7, Mr. Darrel Harriman.
Yay!
Whoa! The miracle of science and technology, yes. I like it. So how are you guys doing?
We're well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. And
You're Darrel, you're the president of Texas Throwers Club, correct?
that is correct. And
So
I've been the president for this would be my 11th year. And
okay.
going back ways, back in my late 30s, I decided to start throwing the hammer. And I did that for a couple of years, but never competed. But reached out to various coaches and had a selection of hammers. And then after that, sometime I ended up uh, going overseas to work. In fact, I worked in Guyana, South America for 7 years, and then Guinea, West Africa for 4, and then Jamaica for 4 years. And then when I
your
came,
role was? What were your role?
well, I'm a metallurgical engineer, and so we were involved in aluminum production. And so in Guyana, it was the middle of the jungle and there's a bauxite mine. And
Really?
then my wife stayed back to get the kids into college. It was funny. We set them all up, got them in the dorms. They had vehicles, and they still claim we abandoned them. Right? I think they really enjoyed the fact that we left. And I went overseas because I knew I was going to have 3 kids in college same time, and I was offered an opportunity to make more money, and so did that. And then the kids would come down during spring break or during the summer. We put them to work, and then we started the school and put them to work in the school. But basically, in Guyana, it was the middle of the jungle. Then I came back for some eye surgery, and then ended up going to Guinea, West Africa, to run an alumina plant, a railroad, a port, a mine. And then from there, we went to Jamaica to do the same thing. And then, so when I got back from all that and retired for the first time, I took up bike riding, and I rode after practicing for 9 months, rode from Del Rio, Texas to Canada, and really enjoyed that.
Hold on, let me ask, how old are you?
How old were you when you did that?
I was 61 when I did that. And
So you went from so you cut out
61
Del Rio,
years
Texas.
old, thoroughly.
Where in Canada?
Del Rio started actually in the middle of the bridge at Amistad Dam, and then up in above Minot, North Dakota. And my wife pulled a fifth wheel and was my support team, and did that 1,900 miles in 25 days. And a couple of those days we had snowstorms. And the last day it was snowing and freezing. I was all dressed up with double, triple layers, and I had to go into a convenience store. And when I went in there, they thought I was going to hold it up because I had the mask on. And so my wife came in and said, "Oh, no, he's not holding it up. He just needs to use the restroom."
So where did the idea come from to do the back challenge?
Being overseas, I started having a bucket list of things I wanted to do, and that was one of them. And I'd already, when I was overseas, I'd come home and do whitewater rafting with my boys. Rafted the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon, and we did the Gully River, and I'd had all these great plans to go to Africa and whitewater, but my boys, their significant others did not want to release them in my custody to go to Africa and do all that. So, okay. So then once that finished, I saw in the paper that there was an ad for this club, and they were going to have a meet in Carrizo Springs, Texas, 2009.
Okay.
They were going to do things like throw the hammer. And so only hammer I had, I think I had a 12-pound hammer. And so I pulled that out, and I was in the 60 age group, and they throw a 5K. So I went down there, and it was the first meet for the Texas Throwers Club. So I got to meet the founders, and that was Ed Rewerts, Marty Wright, Robert Rogers, and Steve Patridge. And Steve Patridge had made the Olympic trials a couple of times in the discus. And then uh, Ed Rewerts was Masters World Discus Champ one year. They're all these really good throwers. And so I started throwing. And
Can I stop you right there? How did
yeah,
how did they start the club? Did it turn out as just those 5 men getting together at a park and kind of throwing, or was it kind of like they saw something kind of other states were doing and decided to kind of follow suit?
it's a good question, because what happened is they were throwing and going to various meets. And at that time in Texas, if you want to go to the meet for Masters, it was probably going to be held by Seth Brower, who does it from Track for Life.
Yeah.
And he still does that. But at that time, he was one of the few sources for meets. And they had gone to a meet not run by Seth. And there was a older gentleman who stepped outside the cage, and he was hit in the head with a discus, and he died. And they were there, two of them, and saw that. And then they, after getting over that, they got together and said, this is not right. We need to have a club where we emphasize safety. And that was the start of the Texas Throwers Club. And then in my 11 years, we have emphasized safety, especially when we have young people coming in. You go to some of these high school meets, and it's scary, the shag discus, at the same time someone's throwing one at them. And so in 2012, I was I'd gone back to work. I was restarting a plant in Louisiana. And then Ed Rewerts got a hold of me and said it just got to the point where his job wouldn't allow him to run the club anymore, and he was looking for someone. And I was going to schedule some surgery, okay, and I couldn't take that on. And so what happened? The club almost died, and I came back to Texas in 2013, and we restarted the club. We started with one meet, add a shot put area. We brought in, I had a friend that was coaching the Texas A&M Kingsville throwers, and they came down and helped us spread material. And then we also did the same thing for weight throw area in front of the discus ring. And so what gradually happened, we went from the club putting one meet on a year to 10 meets, 11 meets, 13 meets. And then we started moving some of the meets around, and we have put meets on at Texas A&M Kingsville, Texas State San Marcos, Southwestern University in Georgetown, and we still do meets at some of those locations, as well as doing them at Atlas Field. And as you know, because both of you have been out there, we've now added the javelin runway and rubberized surface. We've also added a ultra pad and an ultra ring area. So then everything is right there in one location. For years, we would go over to the middle school at Lockhart and use some of their facilities. And for me, as the meet manager, it became very difficult because you're running over, putting on events over there, and then running back to Atlas. So
Is the 5 original or the 4 original guys, do they still?
I had Steve Patridge come to a couple of our meets, and Ed Rewerts. In fact, Ed Rewerts, because of health issues, stopped throwing. And on that first meet in 2009, he came down with heat stroke. And then he could no longer stand to be practicing and throwing when it was hot.
Okay.
And that impacted his ability. But last year, we had one of his buddies come from Austria to throw. And so Ed came back. And so one of the meets we had last year, we had the two top 60-year-old throwers in the world in our meet. And that's Ed Rewert's number 2 and head to head in our meet. It was so awesome to see that. And as a result of our club growing, we've had people from all over the U.S. You know, we have club members that are in California and Arizona and Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, so forth.
How many members do you think you have? Like, if you had to guess.
We have paying members of about paying and people that we exempt that are still members. So if you're over 80, you don't have to pay dues, and our dues are only $25.
Good to know.
And then, so that's about 50 people.
Oh, wow.
However, we reach out when I send emails, and the people that have thrown with us, it's over 200. Last year, we had 124 people throw with us, and 60% of those were master throwers. The others were either open throwers or young throwers.
Now, what's considered a master thrower, Darrel? Do y'all allow 25-year-olds to be part of the club? Is there an age cutoff?
We started the club as we are a master's club, not a youth club. And so that young people can throw with us as non-members and get the same discount rate as members. Okay. And then they can also come to our clinics and so forth.
Okay.
But not as members. But once they are 18 or above, you know, we've had college kids as members, but also growing for their own schools. But originally it just was for masters, which would have been open throwers and above at 19 and above.
Okay.
Was originally the intent, but I don't know.
What's the oldest?
So we've
member?
had throwers. The oldest person that's ever thrown with us was 91. We have members 85. We have a couple of 85-year-old throwers. Pete Labarge being one of those. He doesn't look that way. He looks a lot younger and has won U.S. championships over and over. And then we also have people that are 85 and struggle, and then they come on out and throw also. So it's open to everyone.
Wow. So is the organization is it like a nonprofit, or is this like a business LLC?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are a 501c,
Okay.
registered, with the IRS, also registered with the Texas Controller's Office. So we are a nonprofit, and we've had some very generous donors. For instance, when we put the hammer cage in, that was $22,000, and then all that money was through donations. We had some large donations. The wife of Mark Chapman put on meets years ago that I never got to go to because he passed away before I got into the event. He put on what was called the Cat Springs Grunt, and he did it for 10 years or more. When he passed away, put on what is called the the Cajun Grunt. So he went from Cat Springs Grunt to Cajun Grunt, and then he did it for 8 years. It got so complicated for him getting facilities that he stopped, and we took that up. So I think we're going in our 6 years to an event we call the Atlas Field Grunt. And part of that, you throw heavy stuff. Yeah. And he didn't have the ultra pentathlon, but he also always had where he threw up to 300 pounds for fun of it.
Oh, wow.
So we took that over. It's a 2-day event that we still do.
Okay, and so what is one of the questions I was going to ask you, what is the throws pentathlon versus the ultra weight pentathlon?
Yeah, the throws pentathlon starts with the hammer, and then it always has to go in a sequence of hammer, shot put, discus, javelin, and weight throw. And then the ultra weight pentathlon starts with the weight throw. And to give you an example, people go, okay, what's a weight throw? for an open male thrower, it's 35 pounds. And then when you finish that event, you go to the super weight. And for open throwers, up to, in fact, even up to 59, the super weight is 56 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And then once you do that, then you go to 98, 200, and 300. We have a couple club members that do turns just like you would if a hammer with the 98. And we've had one club member, Hondo Sagallo, so he did turns. And as a result of it, we've got the U.S. record holder for the ultraweight pentathlon on the men's side for the 50 age group. That's Eric Cole. He's the U.S. record holder. And then, of course, you got Carol Finsrud, who's the world American record holder, weight pentathlon, as well as other things. So for as you mature, then the weight goes down. So in my group, I'm 77. So I start with a 16-pound weight and then go to a 35-pound super weight, then 44, then 56, and then we throw 98. But we allow people to throw any weight, anything, So if you want to go ahead and throw the 300 and you're 80 years old, we let you do that. And we usually put on a couple of meets a year where it's just the ultra. In fact, we have put on the throw pentathlon and ultra all in one day. You do 10 events in one day. It's like, and then it took weeks on, you don't recover quickly. And the ultra on a Sunday, you do the other event.
So on a national, national or world level, because I know some like Eric and Carol have gone like to other countries and participated at the world championships. As a master thrower, is there certain like qualifying standards you have to hit to meet those marks to get into those? How do y'all work that, or is that something that y'all try to do within the organization?
Yeah, you don't. That's interesting because you don't need qualifying standards for USA Track and Field, and you don't need them for Worlds, but you do need them for senior games, national senior games. You've got that. You can go to other states and qualify, or you can go to a USA Track and Field meet and meet a standard. And in Texas, at times, if you were like a 70-year-old hammer thrower, because we've had a number of us that throw in Texas, it was not that easy to qualify. You could go to some other state where they don't have hammer throwers and qualify. You just go, and hopefully you prepared yourself and worked out. And that's, but so for senior games, and it's just odd. You go to senior games for my age group in the shot put, and you'll have 39 or 40 shot putters. And yet you go to USA Track and Field, you may only have 8 or 10. And so everyone loves going to senior games because they turn that into a festival. They got all these other activities. They got concerts going on. They got museums. They got tours. And so the whole, it's not just one person. The people go and enjoy, and then they also have all the sports.
Do you know where the senior games are going to be this year?
Senior games, they every other year. So this year's qualifying year, and then the Texas Senior Games March 17th in UTSA, which is in San Antonio. A great facility. I'll be there.
Awesome.
Most of our club members will probably be there also.
Yeah,
we've had a number of club members go to Worlds and win medals. In fact, last Worlds in Finland, the only medals that were won by American, the javelin, one of them, John Daniels, he won a silver. And the person that beat him was an American. I think almost all the other javelin medals were won by Finns or people from Finland. And then, of course, Carol went off and won gold. We had Bob Connors, who throws with us, came in second in the weight throw. We had Eric Cole come and win medals. So, we well represented. And then Scott Erickson went and won 2 golds.
For a senior masters thrower, what's the motivation? Because like, are you doing this for health reasons? You learn to compete? Do you just like the camaraderie? What do you find that motivates all these groups to come together and travel and come down to Lockhart, Texas with y'all?
I think it varies. You get some that are super motivated for competing and winning,
Yeah,
winning medals. And and then others, for instance, I do it because I love throwers. I mean, throwers are so receptive. There's no politics.
true.
Okay, there are people there that if we sat down, we'd probably find out politically we would not agree, but we love each other, we root for each other. And in my case, I and others, I love working out. And I give you my story was that in 2017, I threw in the senior games in Birmingham and won the hammer and came in third in the discus. I then went to the USA track and field. I won three in Baton Rouge championship, won 3 medals, and then went and did the ultra. And I did the weight pentathlon, and I won the ultra pentathlon, and I won the super weight throw at nationals. Out of that, I had a pinched nerve in my arm, which I have today actually.
Uh-huh.
And so I went in and had that evaluated, and because I had my lymph nodes were swollen. And then one of the MRI came back, said possibly that you got some type of cancer. So then went and had that evaluated, and I was diagnosed with high risk chronic leukemia with chromosomes 13 and 17 deleted. And what it means is that when you look at them, the tops have been knocked off. So no ability to fight infections, cancer, that kind of thing. So they put me through a 2-year protocol where, $12,000 a month in drugs. And it was thankfully for the Leukemia Society and others, they paid for most of that. But my insurance paid for most of it, and they paid for the deductible. I went through that for 2 years, and then as a result, I had morning sickness, I had nausea, I had vertigo, all that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. But all through that, I worked out. When I started feeling bad, I got up and worked out. So to answer your question, I felt better working out, but it also allowed me to tolerate what's going on. And so when I talk to people that throw, I tell you got to stay busy. You cannot in life tread water. You can't go back. You can't tread water. You got to go forward. And part of that is staying healthy, both your mental, your spiritual, your work, if that's part of it, and your physical part. And then, so you run into a lot of throwers who have bought into that. They love the camaraderie, they love the competition. But I tell people, you're not competing against someone who went to the Olympics or Olympic trials and they've worked and they got all this technique. Okay, you're in there, maybe in their flight, but you're not competing against them. You're competing against yourself. So, and if you do that, you'll enjoy the sport so much more. And I have a friend who's the throws coach now at Alice High School, but he was at Texas A&M Kingsville. And he says, I love master throwers because every year they go out and work out and they think they're going to get better and they get worse. And I go, wait a minute, we are going to get better, right? I mean, what do you mean tell me that you think I'm going to get worse? But it's true every year because of this the way it is, you just go down. And you see that when you get around young people and you see how well they can do things that you think that you thought you used to be able to do.
Oh, wow.
So coming out of that, I went through 2 years of chemo, and then the spring after I finished that, I went to the senior games in Albuquerque, and I noticed my lymph nodes were starting to swell again. And I go, okay. A month or so later, went to the national meet. It was in Ames, Iowa. And when I went through the body scan where they do the one where you put your hands up
Yeah.
What I lit it up. My lymph nodes here, my groin, under my arms, all lit up. And I've often made the joke that, God, if I'd known that, I could have saved all that money that I spent on CAT scans, right? You go to the airport and they could just scan me. And so after the competition in Ames, coming back to the airport, I could barely walk. Yeah, I mean, it was just, and because my leukemia had come back. And so I went to my oncologist and I told him, okay, it's back. And also, and plus he was aware it was coming back. And I said, do I need to make end of life plans? Because of my cancer with the typical treatment, the life expectancy was 20% over 3.5 years. Okay. And, but the miracle, of God and smart doctors and smart medical people, they now have a protocol where they allow the body to attack the cancer. And I went through that for 2 years, and I've been in remission now for over 3 years. And
Wow.
I was in remission as recently as 2 weeks ago. So, and
Wow.
and but being in shape has allowed me to do the full blown chemo treatment. Not everyone can do that. So,
Yeah.
and I tell people I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here. I don't know always why. So there must be a purpose for me being here. One is to promote the sport. One is promote my faith. So I used to high jump in the senior games, and then and when we'd go, the high jumpers weren't rooting for each other. And then so Sandy and I, my wife, would start rooting for the other high jumpers. And it didn't take long where they would turn. They acted almost like throwers. Okay, not quite like throwers, but almost. They started rooting for each other. I've tried that with sprinters and stuff. It doesn't work as well. I think they're more intense. You know. So at the 2011 Senior Games in Houston, and I did the shot put, the discus, and the hammer, and also did the high jump. And that time I was working out, and I didn't get to throw that much, and so I was just glad to be competitive. And went over and did the high jump. I either finished fifth or sixth in the high jump, and I told that in the story that I wrote. And I outweighed the closest competitor by 50 pounds. And that time I weighed about 230, which is a little less than what I weigh now. So I asked after the meet, I went over and asked the officials for a discount, like give me an inch for every 2 pounds. And I weigh more than these guys. And they laughed, but they wouldn't give it to me. So
What's your PRs? What's your PRs in the shot disc hammer?
okay, my PR in a hammer as a 70-year-old is 44.19, which placed me at top 4 or 5 in the U.S. And then and for the weight throws 16.27 or something like that, which put me in a similar category. Was always my two favorite events. I've probably placed higher in the ultra. There's not as many people that want to throw the ultra weights.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that has happened is you're always trying to keep your body together. And then as I turned 70, I aggravated my knee by twisting it, stepping off the porch. And then the following week, I had a meet, and I collapsed in a ring and broke my watts. And the funny story is that I questioned something that was in the Bible, one of the stories in the Bible. Okay, that I thought it was just a story. And so, the people in my Sunday school class said, "Oh man, you shouldn't do that." And so that happened about the same time I hurt my knee. I was then walking around the neighborhood, and I started getting a chest pain, and I went blind. And I mean, it just like I had a shroud come down over me, and I went blind. And I told my wife to go home, get the car, and pick me up. And found out it was because what it was, I had so much chest pain from probably heartburn that all the oxygen went there, and I went blind. But as I was sitting there, I looked up and said, "Okay, God, that
Sorry.
that wasn't just a story. That was the truth that I was reading in the Bible." Okay, so because when I used to tell that around my wife, she said that be careful, lightning bolts are coming down. Well, I had the lightning bolt. I
Oh,
sprained my
wow.
knee, collapsed in the ring, had chest pains, went blind, and I said, "Okay." I worked overseas. I destroyed the macula in this eye, and that's a long story. But as a result of that, I'm a little careful about my eyesight.
Hey, track fans, as you're getting ready for the 2024 spring season and you're looking for someone to run off your meets, you need to contact North Texas Timing. That's ntxtiming.com out of Fort Worth. For all your track meet needs, they'll give you the opportunity to coach your own kids and let them run the meet for you. They have decades of experience in running meets all the way from the middle school level to the IAAF athletic competitions on the international level. They partner with Finish Links and also with Mile Split, where you can see your data, see your report, see all the things you need. They run very efficiently and will get you all set up. So look them up at ntxtiming.com. Darrel, we're going to go back a ways because you told us that when you started you were threw a little shot put, discus, pole vault, and high jump in your younger years. So where did you grow up? Where did you go to school at?
Okay, that was in Mesa, Arizona, and actually started pole vaulting in my backyard. And we had a school meet in the pole vaulting backyard, bamboo pole, no pit, by the way. You expect to land on your feet. Don't land on your head. That didn't work. And I think back on it, and I don't have a clue how that worked. I really don't. Like what?
Oh, wow.
And then bamboo, and then at school I pole vaulted and then moved to Southern California. And in Southern California, they don't have in California at the time didn't have discus, and so I high jumped and did the pole vault, and then I was convinced that I was going to be too big for the pole vault, and that turned out not to be true. But what I'm probably now trying to make up for the regrets I had in high school. I mean, in high school, I'm 6'2". I could jump and hit my head on the rim of a basketball rim. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had really great spring, and I just didn't make use out of all that. But
were your parents athletic? Did they like sports?
Yeah, my dad played basketball for Phillips 66 back in the 1930s and 40s. And he, back then where you had semi-professional teams, and he played for them. And then my older brother was a track champion in Arizona, and ran at the state meet. And in fact, he was in the same meet as the U.S. record holder at the time for the shot put, discus, and the pole vault. We're all going to the same high school in Phoenix, and he was in that same meet. And
wow.
And so I've always played basketball, always played like softball. I've stayed busy. I did all sorts of things, sports and activities.
Did you ever play football in high school? Did you play football?
I played football in high school, and the funny story there is that before my senior year, I got with a buddy. We set up a gym at our school. Back in 1963, most schools looked down on lifting weights because it was going to make you muscle bound or something. We even had the Dallas Cowboy players come out and talk to us, and they lifted very little, none on their lower legs. And these were linemen then.
Yeah.
And well, before my senior year, we set up in a space above the girls' gym a weightlifting facility. I brought in my weight bench. Other guys brought in their weight benches. We lifted weights all summer. I set up. So my buddy and I, we set up a program for football players. There were 2 schools, and we even had kids from the other high school come over. So after the season ended, the coach went and made a speech to the football players, that the junior, sophomores, and juniors, and said, Well, look at Darrel. He went from being mediocre to a pretty good football player because he worked out and all that. And I don't know if I took that as a compliment or what. And I had the opportunity to play junior college football. I elected not to do that. One thing, I was 185 pounds as a defensive lineman. I don't have that problem. And now,
Yeah, me neither.
so, and then and then later on went into service, played football in the service, for, on the post and that, but didn't have a problem gaining weight then either. But at
What
that
what
part of
branch? What branch of the service?
I was in the Army Security Agency for 4 years in Japan.
Oh wow. Wow.
The station in Hokkaido, Hokkaido is where they had the 90 or 72 Winter Olympics. So as a result, I learned how to ski and had a whole.
After your service in the Army, that's where you came back to college in Arizona?
I came back to, yes, University of Arizona, and got a degree in metallurgical engineering, and then worked in Arizona for a while, and then came to
Can I stop you
Texas
there? So,
to work for
because we're not the smartest
Reynolds,
people.
people that make aluminum foil.
Yeah. So we're not the smartest people. So what did you major in at Arizona? And how did an 18-year-old or, coming out of college or the Army know that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, when I got out of the service, I wanted a job that didn't keep me in the office. I didn't want an engineering job where I was going to be in the office all the time. And and plus, when I lived in Arizona as a kid, my parents moved around a lot. My dad worked for a copper company, so I was familiar with mining companies and living in Arizona, and so that was already in back of my mind as a possibility. So when I came out of college, I went to school as a metallurgical engineer. It's basically like a chemical engineer, but it concentrates on taking ore out of the ground, refining it, and then that led me to work for Reynolds Metals Company in a plant in Texas, and then that led me to go overseas, in bauxite mining and alumina and all that.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So how long did you how you with that company for 40 something years and just decided to retire?
I went to Guinea, West Africa, working
Yeah.
for Reynolds Metals Company. They were taken over by Alcoa. Alcoa got out of our project, and I ended up working for investors. But then the Russians came in and took over the operation. Okay, to be honest, I did not want to work for them. Okay, so,
Yeah.
and I was offered an opportunity to go to Jamaica, and for Kaiser Aluminum. Then they were bought out, and so I ended up working for Glencore and Norsk Hydro. And then guess what? The Russians came in and bought an interest in the same plant, same people. And I knew after 14 years, it was time for me to come home. I mean, just after a while, you need to go home, get recharged. And so I retired. I took up the bike riding, took up throwing. And then some people in Louisiana wanted a plant restarted. And so I went over to Louisiana and worked a couple of years restarting an aluminum plant.
But when did you
Got
meet
to
Sandy?
meet all these Cajuns, and
When did you meet your
I
wife?
met Sandy in Eagle Pass. I met her in Eagle Pass. We'd been married 40 years.
Awesome.
In fact, this week I took her out to lunch, and this waitress that we don't know, young lady, was talking to us and saw something in us and asked how long we'd been married. And I said, well, 40 years. Okay. And then later on, the supervisor for that waitress came over, and I said, hey, that young lady, really nice. She asked how long we'd been married. And I told her 40 years. But what she didn't ask was, are we married to each other? So she just assumed we were married to each other, but we are.
And how many kiddos do you have? You talked about
We have 4 kids. We have 2 of hers, 2 of mine. We have 8 grandkids, 2 great grandkids, and then so we have kids from Colorado and Texas and Tennessee, and I have grandkids all the way out to Oregon. In fact, in May, I'm going out to Oregon to compete in the Haywood Classic. I'll be throwing the hammer and the discus, and I have two grandkids that live in Eugene, and so I'll get to see them at the same time.
Awesome. That is awesome. So Sandy supports the Texas throwers and is on board. Does she ever pick up the hammer?
No, okay. She'll go to our major, like when we travel to national meets, we put on a couple of major meets a year. One's Texas Throwers Invitational. It'll be the 16th annual. And then we do special things. She'll come. She loves throwers. In fact, the throwers love her more than me, I think. I was told once that, hey, Darrel, I like you, but I like your wife a lot better. Yeah. And then, but for the day-to-day meets we do, she doesn't come to those. She has her own activities, but she does go to the major meets. And we have two of those. The one's the grunt, we put on, the other's invitational. Awesome. And then we got a meet coming up, as you know, and we've been invited back to Southwestern University to do this on a yearly basis now. So we'll see how this works on the 25th. Yeah, so it'll be nice. And we've used to have meets there in the past.
On your role as the president, and y'all have a board, so you control the daily operations of everything, the setting the schedules, doing all that. Kind of what is your role exactly as the president?
Yeah, we have officers and have been trying to turn more responsibilities over to them. We have Tom Carlson, who's our treasurer. We have John Daniels, who's our vice president, and our secretary is Terry Shanahan. We also have other directors, Carol Fenrew's a director, Eric Cole's a director, Seth Brower, who puts on a lot of meets, is a director, and also an official. Barry Huff is a director. And then I take on almost all the roles at one time or another. So number one's meet director, to set up the meets, find the location, set those up, get officials, set up the registration. We now have online registration for our meets. Didn't used to have that. Secure insurance, either through USA Track and Field. We try to sanction most of our meets through USA Track and Field. During COVID, we came up with COVID protocols, and we still follow a lot of that and safety protocols that we have. We have bylaws that we have set out, and we also have behavior bylaws, like code of conduct. We have those also. And then, so those get published, and then we also send those to USA Track and Field. And so set up the meets. While I'm there, I will also help, because I quite often, like meet this weekend, I'll be running one of the lasers. And we have other members that'll help in the field. And then afterwards, calculate all the results, send those out to the appropriate websites, mainly the Masters Track and Field ranking site. We got a workbook. In fact, we worked with a couple of other clubs with the guy that runs the Masters ranking site, and that's John Seto, to set up a workbook that is used for our meets and used by almost all the other master clubs now in the U.S. for setting up throwing. So you just enter the results, and it'll calculate your weight pentathlon. It'll calculate your ultra-weight pentathlon. And then it sets up where you get an automatic download to his site, which is now the World Masters site. Then also handle the finances. We're in the process of trying to diversify some of that, so there's more people involved.
Awesome. Now, somebody wanted to make a donation to the club. How would they do that? They listened to this podcast and they wanted to make a donation. How would they do that?
There are two ways. If you enter one of our meets, there's a place there for a donation. Okay. You can enter the meet, and then we give a discount for a number if you're club members, if you're a student thrower, and that includes college students.
Okay.
If you're over 80, if you're a veteran, um, then all those things you get a discount, and there's a promo code that we put out you can use. Yeah, you can also contact me directly. All the contact information is there. And then we also have a link through PayPal for people that want to use PayPal
Awesome.
to either pay their dues or a donation. There's a mailing address. If someone wants to write a check, we have a few people that only write checks. Okay. I'm 85 years old. I am not going to use a credit card. And so they say, and so they send a check.
Which still works.
Awesome.
And then we run our meets to try to break even. And then through donations, we put that back into Atlas Field. We've also, over the last several years, given some scholarships to high school seniors that go on to, and so we will probably be doing that again this year. We just ask that the thrower throw with us. They don't have to be the best thrower in the world, but they are dedicated to their sport, and especially if they're going on to throw in college. We've had a number of kids with us that have gone on. And
oh wow! Now, how would that student just reach out to y'all and kind of submit a resume or something to have that opportunity to get that scholarship if they're going
yeah,
to throw in
in
college?
fact, yeah, Jason, if you know someone, they can reach out to you, and then they can forward to us. If it's a parent that knows me, they can contact
Awesome.
and contact me. And then what happens is the board votes on that, and then that scholarship would be awarded in June at our invitational meet. So,
Is there anything future wise y'all are working on? I know you just said y'all are trying to do stuff yearly at Southwestern University in Georgetown. Is there other stuff y'all are working on to maybe do stuff in other states, clinics, anything y'all are kind of working on?
what I would like to do, and talked about it for years, is put a meet on in the Dallas Metroplex. If there's someone that wanted to partner with us and one, get a location, and then because it used to be through the Dallas Track and Field Club, and when they went under, we actually purchased their trailer and their throwing implements. And but would love to have a meet back in that area, and anyone interested, we would partner with them, which means we would put the meet on. We would arrange, but it would help have someone identify a throwing facility we could use. I mean, for me, do I need to go up there, and do I need to leave Atlas Field? We got our own safe little place to throw.
Yes, you do.
But no, it really benefits the sport, and it reaches out to people that don't live in around Lockhart. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so this year we've got our 16th annual invitational meet that's going to come up early in June, and that'll be posted. And then I think we're still deciding when to do the grunt. You know, in the summer it gets so busy with national and international meets that we back, and it gets so hot that we back off a little bit. But we'll still do the grunt. And both of those meets I mentioned are 2-day meets. So that's the other thing. We do the open throwing and the pentathlon on Saturday. Then the next day we do the ultra events.
Oh wow! Do you set goals for yourself?
Yes, and I do. My goal now is to enjoy the sport. I mean, what's happened is that
That's a great.
Both of my shoulders have disintegrated. I have curvature of the spine. I have 3 bulging discs. I have, arthritis all through my spine. And then as a result of that, there's certain things I shouldn't do. I shouldn't be throwing the 300-pound weight anymore. And so I've just decided to enjoy the sport. I love working out, and generally I work out 6 days a week. And usually the only day I don't work out is Saturdays, and I work out Sunday afternoons. I'll go out and throw. I do a lot more kettlebell work now rather than heavy work. Used to be, I'd love bench presses and lifted weights from the time I was 11 years old. And but now I'll get a 50-pound bar or 45-pound bar, and it takes 10 minutes to get the pain to get out of the shoulders, and which is probably sending me a signal. And
Yes.
goal this year is to get out to meets in the U.S. and see more people. Yeah, I plan on going to the national meet in Sacramento, which is in June or July. And I'm going to Hayward Field. What happens, you go to national meets, you see the same people all the time. I would like
Yeah.
to see some of these other folks that are out there throwing. They used, for 39 or 40 years, there was a meet put on in Colorado, and Jim Weed put that on. They've now moved that to Minnesota, and that's unfortunate. And Reed Masters and I and others, we made a point of trying to go to that every year, and now it's gone under. So,
Oh wow.
and
Is there any other clubs in the U.S. like y'all's? Like, is there other Masters Throwers Club in California, Oregon, and West Virginia?
yes, there are. There's the Arizona Desert Throwers, and then the president puts on a number of ultra meets in his backyard. He's got an ultra pad in his backyard, and that's David Bickel. And he was just introduced to the um, Hall of Fame for Masters Throwers. And then he just received the same award that I had received in 2021, which is I always have to look, Ken Weinbel Award and which is awarded to someone contributing to Masters throwing and through USA Track and Field.
Well, you've definitely done that, Darrel.
Yes. What an
Yeah.
honor.
And, well, I have friends in high places, okay, Eric and Carol, and I have another number of friends on that committee that made that decision. So I'm sure
No.
that helped. And then
Yeah.
there are other Chicago. There's a number of other clubs also. There's when we replaced the cage at Atlas Field, then Carol sold that to a group in Florida, and they're now putting on meets there. One is called Coach Florida Coaching or something like that. But you get Philadelphia Track Club. You got a number of clubs, and some of them include everything. It's like SoCal Track Club.
Yeah.
And but at national meets from the last few years, we've been the number one club throwing only. So you look at SoCal and TNT and all those running, but the number one club in terms of scoring points at national meets for just a throwing club has been us. And thanks to Carol, people like Carol.
Yeah. What would you think Robert and Steve and Ed and Marty would, look back and say about the club now? Is, you've moved their vision beyond maybe what they thought about just being a club about teaching safety, so to speak?
Yeah, we had, in fact, at our invitational meet last year, Ed Rewerts was there and Marty Wright was there. And I'd also talked to Robert Rogers, and he came down with some health issues and couldn't make it.
Oh.
And then during COVID, Steve Patridge passed away. And then Steve wasn't that old. He was just getting, I think, 65 or something. And then, and I always mentioned that, they're the ones that planted the seed and laid the foundation and got this going. Otherwise, the club wouldn't be there. And it's, even this award is not my award. It was an award for the things, the club and the club members and the donors. We've had people donate to our javelin runway that were not javelin throwers. Yeah. That means a lot to me. They're throwers, but they weren't javelin throwers.
Yeah.
And they still donated to the javelin runway that we just put in 2 years ago. And so you see these people coming from all over. In fact, the young man is now, he just turned 65, is Gottfried from Austria. When he comes to Atlas Field, and he said, "This is my favorite place to throw." And it's like going to Field of Dreams, where you sit there. He said, "I've thrown in these massive stadiums where you have a good throw, but it doesn't look like it because it's 100 meters out to the end of the sector.
Yeah.
And they can come to Atlas Field and just enjoy it. So
that is definitely true. It is definitely the field of dreams. I tell people about it all the time for sure. So
we are so thankful that you guys, we've met you guys, and that we get to bring our kids out there because they just love that experience of watching you guys throw. It's amazing.
Well, one of the things that's changed with your kids coming is that, like, for instance, that I always want to meet the kids. And then so all the young ladies line up and now they're used to that. And the young men too. I remember the first time I did that with the young men, they all hung their heads like, I've got to say hello to someone. But now they've been forewarned. They come there, they enjoy being there. And then where these kids that in some cases I hadn't seen in a couple of years, like we had a young man come the other day and I yelled over at him and knew his name. And I just liked the fact that you can give them that recognition, even if they haven't been there in a while.
yeah.
So, let me answer your other questions on clinics. We normally this time of year put on clinics, and Eric Cold was a multiple time a Division II hammer and then discus champ. We've had Hondo Sadairo, who was All-American hammer thrower. We've had Sagato. I don't want to mispronounce his name. Hondo Sagato. We've had James Lee, who threw for University of Houston, and the discus still number 5 from Houston. He's done clinics with us. And we've had one of the guys that's been Bryant, who's with now University of Texas, used to be an All-American Luke Bryant.
Yeah.
We came in third in NCAA in the discus.
Yeah.
He's done discus clinic for us.
Oh, wow.
And then we've had Sarah Ramos, who I noticed on your podcast, threw for Angelo State. And she's come and done an excellent hammer throw. In fact, helped me a bunch just listening to her. And then I don't know if she told you her full story, but you know, she competed her last national meet the day after the massacre in Uvalde.
Yeah.
And so
she did.
And then so all that on her mind, it just was heart-wrenching, you know, because at that time Tim Miller was her coach. And then I talked to Tim the night before and said, how's it going to be, you know, with this massacre, how can she even throw? But she did. So this year I have not set up clinics. Probably will do so. And but we like, especially for people doing new events, whatever requirements. If you throw the hammer with us, we'd like you to go through a clinic or you get coaching somewhere. What we don't want you to do is come there and we have to coach you. I make a point of going over to see the kids at the beginning of the season. I did that last week. In fact, invited them to the meets. And I just thought of it last week. Why don't I have our local coach do one of the clinics? He is really good at stepping people through the shot put. We've had Tamon Johnson, who you know, when Tamon Johnson was a freshman, we put a meet on at Texas State. And then my wife ran the shot put event, and she roots for everyone. She's not an official, but she roots for everyone. And then, so I think Tamon Johnson fell in love with her and said, man, you're the best official ever, because she was rooting for him. And I remember as a freshman, he threw like 15 and a half, 16 meters in the shot.
Yeah.
He has come to our meets later on there at Southwest. He threw.
What is the oldest, how do I say it, oldest master's thrower? Has there been somebody 101 throw? Do you know?
Yes. Yeah. My hero was Trent Lane. When I lived in Louisiana, Trent Lane, the first time I met him was like 97 years old, and he was a master's thrower. And I had a knee issue. I hurt my knee playing football in high school and didn't get it replaced until about 5 years ago. But so I would compete with a brace on, and I was talking to Trent Lane. He's 97, and I explained the problem. I saw him 3 months later, and he said, "Hey, I gave you the name of that doctor. Did you go see him?" At 97, he still remembered. And then Trent Lane at 101, he still holds the USA track and field and world records for the hammer and the discus, and at 101.
Wow.
And you can, yeah, you can go at Trent Lane, and his friend was Vince Bro. Vince Bro, who's a power lifter, a Cajun, would bring him to the meets and make sure that, because at 101, you're not always stable. So he was always there to make sure that Trent was, stable in the ring. And so I met Trent when he was 97 and knew him right up to 101. And now there's a young lady that I met her when she was 100 years old. They called Hurricane Hawkins. You can look her up. She's the world and record holder in the 50-meter sprint at 100 years and 105 years old.
Wow.
And she's now still alive, lives in a rest home. She's not running anymore, other than in a wheelchair, but at 105, she's still running.
That is awesome.
Trent Lane is my hero because he was sharp. The other one, I'm going to tell you about one more, and that's Adolf Hoffman. He was like 89 years old, and he was going to throw at Vince's Bros Cajun Grunt. And I had seen him a couple months before that, and he said, "Man, I've got to get in shape to throw the 300-pound weight. Right now, I'm only doing 270-pound deadlifts." And so, sure enough, the Cajun Grunt, he threw 300 pounds. I went over to try to, I wasn't doing 300-pound throws then. I went over, well, it must have been a fake weight, right? I went over to try to pick it up, and I go, "That is heavy." And that got me into throwing the 200 and 300 pounds because of
wow.
But you see these people that stay active, and that's what I tell people: find something you love doing. If it's not throwing, I understand. Find something you love doing. One of my pet peeves is people that buy weights and put a weight machine in or some other type of machine in their house and never use it.
Yeah.
But find a sport that you love doing and go do it with. And throwing, you'll never meet a better group of people. So, yeah.
That is true. That is definitely true. They've opened their arms to us, and we're grateful, and we're grateful for that. We've connected, and we look up to y'all, and y'all are inspirations, and we're just grateful to be a part of it. So thank y'all.
This has been awesome.
Yeah,
Darrel.
really
Thank you
good.
so much. We were so excited to get you on, get your story out there.
Thank you so much.
I'm really honored that you did this, and I don't deserve this, but I think the club deserves the recognition. Okay. See you then. Bye-bye.
We'd like to thank Darrel for being on. What an inspiration to all of us who's had some adversity in his life and just lives life to the fullest.
Every single day.
That is true. I just applaud what he's doing for the Texas Throwers Club. I applaud what he's doing just for throwing and promoting the sport and bringing people in. First off, the club is tremendous. If you're wanting to be a master's thrower or even go out and see if you want to be, best place to start is contact them to kind of get the ball rolling, and hopefully just like Darrel, it kind of finds you like he was in Carrizo Springs and answered a news ad to get the kind of the ball rolling to see what he does. So the impact they're having in the state of Texas is great. The impact Darrel is having on or with Texas Throwers Club is tremendous, and just what a great story of overcoming his battles with leukemia and all that, and living a healthy lifestyle to be able to function at 77 years old is one of inspiration. And I can only speak for myself to say that hopefully, I'm as fit as him and as healthy as him at 77.
Wow. And some things too, away from throwing, that he said, about don't tread water in life, don't stay put, don't stay where you are, always be healthy. He mentioned numerous things in his battle with cancer of how he was able to do more than most people can because he's healthy. The dude lifts weights 6 days a week. He's ridden a bike across the country. He has done everything imaginable to stay healthy and fit, and really goes around and promotes that. He said, and his goal this year, you asked him his goals were, to enjoy throwing. And then he has 2 missions, like to spread the word of throwing and to spread his love of Jesus. And that's his goal. So
for sure. So Darrel, thank you for being on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, go check out Texas Throwers Club. All right, we want to thank our sponsors for episode 115, Texas Track and Field Coach Association. Go to ttfca.org. Check out everything going on. Track season is up and running, so all the information you need is there. 4throws.com. Use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off as you're looking for new implements to start throwing. If you're in the Austin area, if you're headed down there for Texas Relays or state track meet eventually, go to Ready Up AD and give Zach Phillips a call at 512-507-8347. Check out his program too, Basic Throw Strength, on the Train Heroic website, and use the code THROWS10 to get 20% off. In TX Timing, let Carl Hornback and his crew manage your meet. They have a great relationship, or that take advantage of his relationship with Mile Split for free online registration, live results. Those guys will come out there. They'll do the work while you can actually coach your athletes. And if you're at a really long meet, you're not waiting around on them because they're going to get it moving and take care of business. Big Frogs of Colleyville. They do all of our printing and embroidery, all the great stuff we have. So go check them out at Colleyville at bigfrogs.com.
Hello, Talking Throws Texas podcasters. I'm Bruce Caldwell. I'm here today to introduce the FiberSport Discus. Yes, many of you thought I only made great vaulting poles. I have been bringing quality discuses to the throwers' hands for over 40 years. First as Cantabrian USA representative, then for the past 10 years as the Nelco discus distributor. I introduced the yellow-plated discus for the plastic's best durability. If your FiberSport discus breaks, we replace it. Our studies have reached into the science of using a wind tunnel and adding microchips to the discus to find the spin, the gravity, the flight stability of the discus. We have found it's not about rim weight anymore. It's more about creating a balanced stability to allow the discus to fly and surf the wind. Our new FiberSport discus is made to be selected to fit your needs, no matter the weather, no matter the conditions. Check out our discus selection guide at fibersportdiscus.com and find a dealer in your area that sells our fine product. Thank you, Jason and Janelle, for allowing me to talk with your listeners on Talk and Throws Texas Style.
Go to our website, The Throwing Factory, to check out any lessons, apparel, all of our coaches, all the things we've got posted on there. There's also a link there to Lifting DFW. If you're ready to get some Olympic lifting on, improving in that, reach out to us, give us a call. And then if you like these podcasts, share it with a friend, subscribe to it, make a comment. We love doing this. We love getting stories out there, and Darrel's story is one that needs to be shared with a lot of young people.
A lot of old people.
Or a lot of old people who are ex-throwers who are like, man, I wish I could have the chance to go throw again.
Or if you don't even have to be next door. If you're somebody just kind of stuck in life and you're kind of like,
need a goal.
I need something to go do. Go pick up a disc or go do a shot put.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Fitness and a great community, 2 things that we all need. Ways to be healthy with great, encouraging people and a community to do it with. So, all right.
Thanks, y'all.
Guys.
We'll see y'all down.